Hello and welcome to the agent demo video for Contract Rabbit. In this video, we are going to compare how our agent marks up an NDA against how ChatGPT marks it up. So basically, we're going to upload the same document to both models. We're going to tell both models to use the same precedents, and then we're just going to walk through the outputs that both models generate. So we can get started by just sending an email to our agent, and we're going to tell it to consider only certain precedents. Telco industries, counterparty. And then we're going to upload those same precedents to ChatGPT. So both models will be working from the same data set, and that's very important. Okay, so we'll send that off. And get the NDA. Alright, so now we're just going to attach the precedents that we want ChatGPT to use. These three. And we're going to tell it, revise the following NDA using the attached three documents as good precedent. Mark your deletions in strike through and your additions in bold. Here is the NDA. Okay. Alright, so it's going to generate some outputs, and I'm going to put all of these outputs into a table so it will make it easier to compare, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I've put all the outputs into this table so we can really get a good comparison of side by side. And you can see there is some delta between the changes that our model proposed and the changes that ChatGPT proposed. We're not going to walk through each and every sentence because that would be a bit tedious, but I would like to focus on a couple of examples that give a good understanding or a good idea of where our model kind of outperforms. So you can see these first couple of sentences in the preamble. ChatGPT didn't change them at all, and ours does make some, small but I would say important changes that tie out to the precedent documents. And I listed them all at the bottom of this document so we can see where this language comes from. So it says potential merger transaction, merger transaction, merger transaction, and that is why it is that is why it's replacing that word commercial with the word merger. Okay, let's focus on a couple of individual examples. Let's take a look at the carve-out from the definition of confidential information. Now, you'll see that ChatGPT didn't make any changes to this sentence, and ours deleted a bunch of language. And the reason it did that is because none of this language actually exists in any of the precedent documents. So if it's not there, our model will recognize that and delete it. Another good example would be, let's see. Here's a good one. So, similar to the carve-out from the definition of confidential information, this language does not exist in any of the precedents, and this carve-out in this sentence is actually really, really important, and ChatGPT is just kind of gliding over it, not really noticing that it doesn't exist in any of the precedents. And let's just verify that again. No license. Yeah, no license or conveyance any such rights, granted or implied. Same thing there. Same thing there. So you can see how it really in a lot of ways lacks the holistic understanding necessary to make a good markup of these documents. And I want to focus on just a couple more examples to further elaborate on that point. Oh, here's a good one. So both the models crossed out this carve-out because it's not in the precedent set. But then ChatGPT added in this new language that also is not in the precedent set. And it's also almost basically adding in this language here, which is very, very similar to the language that it just crossed out. So this is, I would say, close to what is basically known as a hallucination. And it does that a lot in these documents, and we'll see that kind of further down. Here's a very important point. All of the precedent documents were governed by Delaware law, and both models recognized that, so they changed California to Delaware. However, our model recognized the California law-specific language in the original document and deleted it. ChatGPT did not. So that's a big flaw. And the biggest other, here's some more state-specific language that ChatGPT did not add. But I would say the biggest other shortcoming of a large language model, even when you fine-tune it on the right precedent documents, is that for sentences that do not occur in the original document but do exist in the precedents, it will either completely miss them, like this non-compete here. There was no non-compete in the original document, but all three precedents had a non-compete, so our model added it in. Or if it doesn't miss them, it will add in some really, really strange version of the sentence that it should be adding in. So this is a perfect example here. All three precedents included this very, very long standstill provision. And in a sense, ChatGPT recognized that, but then the standstill that it added in is very, very different, much shorter, not as effective, and it even hallucinated an exhibit to the contract that, of course, does not exist. So I guess the main point here is that NDAs are relatively short and simple contracts, and if a fine-tuned large language model can't mark it up when it's a short and simple document, imagine the scale of mistakes that it's going to make when you give it a 100-page merger agreement and tell it, okay, these are the four precedents, now, mark this up based on these precedents. It would be much bigger mistakes than we've seen here. Okay, that's basically the end of the demo. I like to keep it short and sweet. I hope this has been informative, and we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.